I'm dedicated to keeping you up to date with the latest in the housing market. And today, homebuyers can afford 1/3 less house than they could afford last year as the mortgage rates spike. I'm going to show you 8 different charts here in this video that are going to break down the difficulty of buying and selling a house right now. Now, the Federal Reserve on Wednesday raised its interest rates by 3/4 of a percentage point. This is a move that will increase borrowing costs for all financial products and especially mortgages. Now, the U.S. government is making massive increases to borrowing costs and in the hopes of curbing inflation. For the most of the past decade, the base rate has been effectively zero, making it extremely cheap to borrow lots of money. But today we're going to talk about the screaming, the crying, the throwing up over inflation. And it doesn't matter if the economy or the gas prices or interest rates or housing prices, food prices, supply chain, the stock market, a bear market, all things of this nature. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a 401k or stocks of any sort, you may want to avoid checking your balances. If you have a car and you're filling it up with gas, you'll probably want to cry. Now, a combination of high home prices and rising mortgage rates are pushing many buyers out of the market. Now, a general rule of thumb is a percentage point increase in interest rates corresponds with a 10% decrease in purchasing power. Now, I want to say that again. This is a rule of thumb, but every percentage point that interest rates go up, it decreases purchasing power by 10%. So, in other words, a buyer who could afford a $2,000 a month mortgage payment on a $414,000 home with a 3% mortgage. But at the same time, if we take that mortgage to a 6% mortgage, the same buyer could only afford a $320,000 house with that same $2,000 a month mortgage payment. And it's not just interest rates that are going up. Everything else in the economy is getting more expensive. Now, pre-pandemic, past pandemic, whatever you want to call it, wage increases are tending to taper off. And this is leading to a dramatic drop in affordability index. Affordability has fallen nearly 40 points this year. Now, let's take a look at home prices. Home prices have dipped slightly since April. And as an example, here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, we're seeing low and medium priced homes selling really still pretty quick. And as more people are moving away from higher tax states and moving to more affordable or better lifestyle areas, there's that shift and transition from where people are moving from and where they're moving to. They're also downsizing. But nationally, home prices still remain at all-time record highs, with about 15% over last year's peak, which was a record at that time. Now, here's another national trend that we're seeing. It's higher overpriced houses that could not even appraise for their asking prices have been taking price reductions, and they should. But over time, home prices haven't really started to come down, or at least they're not going up as fast as they were. Now, the National Association of Home Builders has said that some of the overpriced pockets in the country could see a 10% dip from current prices. Now, as a percentage of listings with price reductions, it's twice as high as it was at the current time last year. But there were extremely rare at that point in time to see a price reduction. But today, they still account for only less than 1 in 10 single-family home listings. Now, earlier this year, less than half of the pending sales lasted for more than 2 weeks on the market. But before the pandemic rush, the ratio of closed was 2/3. So it's not much, but it's a sign that we're seeing these opening weekend bids that are calming down a little bit. You know, we're not seeing the multiple offers. They are selling, but not as fast. As the market cools, though, the housing market is still nowhere near normal. Now, the National Association of Realtors generally considers a 6-month supply of homes to be what they call a balanced market. And we still don't have that kind of inventory. The national average right now is less than 2 months supply of homes for sale. And this is barely moving up. It is creeping, but it is barely moving up because the homes are still being bought. But for this number to improve, there really needs to be fewer buyers, more houses, or both at the same time. But that doesn't always make housing affordable, especially when the government is raising interest rates and taxes. Plus, the rents are not going down either. Now, the United States needs to see between 1.5 and 1.9 million homes for sale in order for the housing market to be recovering from the crazy housing market that we have right now. Even with a slowdown, it's not clear that demand will fall low enough to allow supply to build up and bring those housing prices down. Now, we have not seen what they call a neutral housing market or real estate market in years. For this to happen, it needs to be a balanced market which is good for everyone. Now, let me give you the example of this. Typically, a balanced market means interest rates are affordable and the number of buyers and sellers in the marketplace are equalized. We haven't seen that, right? But with this crazy inflation, equalized? You can forget about seeing that. You know, everything that we buy from here is only going to get more unaffordable. Take, for example, newly constructed homes. We know that these have been going up year after year, right? But this only represents about 10% of the housing market. But they are not the only area where the housing market can actually grow or get bigger. Why? Because they can build more. But here's the problem. Ever since the Great Recession, home building rates have actually been very low. And we still haven't even reached the 1990 levels, even with this demand. So the economic slowdown could actually cause the numbers to fall even lower since it makes home building even more expensive. Now here's the deal. Inflation is on the rise throughout the economy. It's hitting every single person and no one escapes. The hardest hit and the necessary things that we all need, food, shelter, whether it's the housing or a rental, medical care, gas, insurance, taxes, the cost of virtually everything is going to continue to rise. So what do people do to survive? Some are doing it now. Some will downsize. They'll move to lower cost areas. They'll lower tax areas. So what are you going to do to thrive? I want you to hear from you because I really want to know what's happening in your world. Comment below, let me know. I'm wishing you success. And if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do so because there's over 1,000 super helpful videos here on this channel. And if you have subscribed, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.